You swipe right on someone who looks nothing like your ex. But 3 months later, you're having the exact same fight about them, never texting back fast enough. Sound familiar? You break up with the emotionally unavailable musician only to fall for an emotionally unavailable artist. You dump the commitment phobie lawyer and somehow end up with a commitment phobie entrepreneur. What if I told you that Carl Jung predicted this exact pattern over 100 years ago, and he'd probably be laughing at how predictable we all are? Let me guess, you have a type. Maybe it's the mysterious bad boy with dark hair and a motorcycle who makes you feel like you reliving in a romance novel, until you realize he treats his Netflix password with more commitment than your relationship. Or the ambitious career woman who is always too busy for dinner plans, but somehow has time to post 30 Instagram stories about her morning smoothie. Perhaps it's the charming extrovert who lights up every room but can't seem to have a deep conversation without checking their phone every 5 minutes. We all know someone who dates the same person with different faces over and over again. Hell, maybe that someone is you. Your friends see it. Your family sees it. Even your barista who overhears your phone conversations probably sees it. You dated Jake, the photographer, who was working on himself and couldn't commit. Then you dated Marcus, the startup founder, who was also working on himself and couldn't commit. Now you're telling everyone how different Tyler, the freelance writer, is. While describing someone who is, you guessed it, working on himself and can't commit. It's like you're casting for the same character in the movie of your love life, just changing the costume department. Here's the thing that'll blow your mind. This isn't random. This isn't coincidence. This isn't even bad luck. This is Jung psychology at work, operating in the background of your love life like our Netflix algorithm that only recommends the same show with different actors. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who basically invented half the psychology concepts we throw around at dinner parties, had this revolutionary theory about why we're magnetically drawn to certain people. He developed what's known as Carl Jung philosophy around something called the anima and animus, and it explains why. Sarah from accounting keeps dating guys who look like they stepped out of an indie band, even though she claims to hate indie music. So what exactly is this anima and animus thing? Think of it as your internal dating GPS that has been programmed by every significant relationship you had before you even knew what dating was. The anima is the feminine aspect that exists in men's unconscious minds, while the animus is the masculine aspect in women's unconscious minds. But here's where Jung psychology gets really interesting. These aren't just random concepts floating around in your head. They're formed by your earliest experiences with the opposite gender, usually your parents. Let's say you grew up with a father who was brilliant but emotionally distant. He'd help you with your math homework like a patient teacher, but when you scraped your knee, he'd awkwardly pat your head and suggest you walk it off. Fast forward 20 years, and you find yourself inexplicably drawn to partners who are incredibly smart but struggle with emotional intimacy. You'll describe them as mysterious and deep, but really, you're just dating different versions of Dad. Or maybe your mother was the life of every party, charismatic and spontaneous, but also unpredictable and prone to dramatic mood swings. You might find yourself consistently attracted to partners who are exciting and fun, but who make you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells. You'll call it passion, when really it's just familiar dysfunction. The crazy part about Jung's psychology is that we don't consciously choose these patterns. Your brain isn't sitting there going, you know what would be fun. Let's date someone exactly like that person who gave us trust issues in 3rd grade. Instead, your unconscious mind is running this sophisticated matching system, scanning potential partners for familiar emotional signatures. This is where Carl Jung philosophy becomes both fascinating and slightly terrifying. Jung believed that we're not just attracted to people who remind us of our parents, but to people who carry the same emotional energy as our unresolved psychological material. It's like your psyche is a heat-seeking missile locked onto the exact type of person who will trigger your deepest, most unhealed wounds. Think about it. Have you ever met someone and felt that instant, inexplicable chemistry? That I've known you forever, feeling that makes you want to write poetry and delete dating apps. Jung's psychology would say you're not recognizing a soulmate, you're recognizing a psychological pattern. Your unconscious mind is basically high-fiving itself going, "Oh, perfect. Here's someone who can help us recreate that familiar emotional dynamic we learned in childhood." This explains why Emma keeps dating guys who are project partners, men with obvious flaws she thinks she can fix. Her animus was shaped by a father figure who needed constant caretaking. So she's unconsciously drawn to partners who make her feel needed in that same exhausting way. She swears each new guy is different, but they all variations on the same theme, capable men who somehow can't manage basic adult responsibilities without her intervention. Or take David, who exclusively dates women who are hard to get. His animus was formed around a mother figure who was loving but inconsistently available. So he's programmed to equate love with uncertainty. He gets bored with women who text back quickly and loses interest in anyone who is actually excited to see him. According to Jung's psychology, he is not being shallow. He is unconsciously seeking the familiar tension of trying to earn love from someone who might withdraw it at any moment. The really wild part is how this shows up in modern dating culture. We have apps that literally let us filter potential partners by physical appearance, interests, and lifestyle preferences, but we still end up with the same emotional patterns. You can swipe through thousands of profiles carefully selecting people who seem completely different from your ex. But if you're not conscious of your anima or animus patterns, you'll still end up in the same psychological dynamic, just with someone who listens to different music. Carl Jung philosophy suggests that until we become aware of these unconscious patterns, we're doomed to repeat them. It is not that we re-stupid or have bad taste in partners. It is that we're re-operating from a part of our psyche that was programmed before we had any choice in the matter. Your 7-year-old self observed how love worked in your household and decided, okay, this is what relationships look like. And that inner 7-year-old is still calling the shots in your dating life. But here's the hopeful part about Jung psychology. Awareness is the first step to freedom. Once you start recognizing your patterns, you can begin to make conscious choices instead of unconscious ones. You can start asking yourself, am I attracted to this person because they're genuinely compatible with who I am now, or because they feel familiar in a way that takes me back to childhood dynamics? The goal isn't to fight against your anima or animus, Carl Jung, philosophy, teaches us that these aspects of our psyche aren't problems to be solved. They're parts of ourselves to be understood and integrated, instead of unconsciously seeking the same type of person. You can consciously choose partners who complement your growth rather than just triggering your unfinished psychological business. Jung psychology shows us that our repetitive dating patterns aren't character flaws or bad luck. They re-invitations to understand ourselves more deeply. And maybe, just maybe, once we stop laughing at our predictable choices and start getting curious about them, we can finally break free from the cycle and find something real. After all, Jung would probably say the best relationship is the one where both people are conscious enough to see their patterns and brave enough to choose something different.